watching closely.
What's the secret, Max?
You just gotta find something you love to do and then do it for the rest of your life.
I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Hello, and welcome to The Establishing Shot, a podcast where we do deep dives into directors and their filmographies. We are on an off week from our director filmography talk. We had a great episode on E.T. in our early Spielberg series last week. Going to be jumping into Temple of Doom next week. But for now, we're going to do a kind of companion piece to E.T., and we're going to do something that we do all the time, but if it's your first time tuning in, you might not know what a movie draft is. That's what we're doing. Movie drafts, basically we pick a category. We choose movies from that category going back and forth. The way I always describe it is, it's like you're trying to pick the best kickball team in the schoolyard. So you want to have the best team, the players that kick the ball the farthest so that you can win. But maybe sometimes you pick your best friend because you can't leave your best friend off the team, even if they're not any good at kickball. So that's kind of the best analogy I've come up with. And if you're a regular listener, you've heard that a million times. So sorry about that, but you gotta help the new listeners too. But I have our guest from last week back on with me, Melvin Benson of the Cinematic Doctrine podcast. Melvin, it's good to have you back.
Yeah,
how are
glad to
you
be
doing?
back.
Yeah.
Hanging out. Ready to have the better lineup of movies than you do.
I love it. I love it when people come on and like start trash talking. That's my favorite. The last draft that it released as the time of this recording was our creature features draft, and Daniel, my guest for that podcast, had the same trash talk, and he ended up beating me. So hopefully there's not a repeat here. But so we're gonna go back and forth. We're gonna be drafting. I don't even think did I mention that it's an Alien Invasions movie draft yet? I don't know if I mentioned it.
You said it was a companion piece to the ET stuff,
yes,
so I think possibly,
it is,
but
ET is
even I don't remember now. Oh my gosh.
ET is technically an alien invasion movie. It's not. It's just a benevolent invasion. So ET is going to be our honorable mention, our official honorable mention, and it's going to be off the board, set aside as the inspiration for the draft. But all other alien invasion movies are on the table. I didn't say Close Encounters is off the table, so I didn't plan on picking it. I'm assuming you're not planning on picking it either, but
who knows?
Maybe it'll show up. Who knows? So Melvin is first time. Well, I guess technically now second time guest, but first time doing a movie draft with me. So he's going to get the first pick, and let's jump right into it. We're picking Alien Invasion. So this just the only stipulation is it's an alien invasion movie. So it's only movies where aliens are invading Earth. It's not so like Ridley Scott's Alien, not on the table because it's all in space. Star Wars, not on the table because it's aliens, yes, but they're not coming to invade Earth. So that's really the only like stipulation that's probably worth mentioning. You're like, why are they not picking aliens? Like, well, because it's not
because it's not on Earth.
But yeah, Melvin, why don't you kick us off with the first pick? Where are you going?
Well, once you said that I was going first, then I was like, oh, okay, well, I know I have to pick first. It's obviously The Thing. Like, you can't not pick The Thing.
It's right behind you.
I was like, I have to do it. For people who are listening on audio, they don't know. I have a collection of, my wife got me Well, so we go to local screenings all the time, and
Yeah.
they will do partnerships with local artists to do pictures for that. And then she
That's
also
cool.
got posters that were custom prints, and one of them is The Thing. And it's a really cool design. Yeah, obviously The Thing. The Thing is a great movie. It's beautiful looking. The music is excellent. The atmosphere is stellar. The effects are truly unbelievable stuff. It's a great piece of film.
They're
It'll blow your
horrifying.
mind. Yeah, it is shocking. Some effects look
Oh my
silly, some
gosh.
effects look great, but it's like in terms of silly, it's like because it's
Even the
obviously
silly
a
ones are
mannequin.
like unsettling.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah.
It is great artistry. So absolutely had to put The Thing on there. And then yeah, a film continually talked about because of Carpenter's love of ambiguous endings. And so
Yes.
absolutely have to recommend The Thing for my number one.
Great choice, John Carpenter. Not a stranger to alien invasion movies.
No.
But yeah, I think The Thing is his best as far as that goes. I haven't seen all of his films, but yeah. And I took it in the creature feature draft. So you know, I'm glad it's getting represented in this draft because I was like, well, I'm not going to pick it in 2 drafts, and I'm pretty sure Melvin's going to pick it because he has the poster of it. So, yeah, The Thing is really just a great movie.
So good.
Same year as E.T. too. We talked about that in 1982. The Thing and E.T. So yeah, very different movies. So my pick is up. The Thing is definitely like it's in my top tier of options. But there's one that I do like more. It is a much more recent film. And I'm gonna pick Denis Villeneuve's Arrival.
Good pick.
I love Arrival. I just think it's an incredibly made movie. I don't want to say too much about it because if you haven't seen it, then if I talk about it for too long, then it'll, give away the best surprises about the movie. So go watch Arrival. It's incredibly shot. The alien designs are just like phenomenal and like kind of unlike any other aliens I've ever seen in a movie. So that's unique. Great acting with Amy Adams, like emotionally like moving and touching and just all around great movie. So
if you want your mood changed, this is a movie for it too. This is a really good one. Yeah. All right.
Where are you going next?
I think your description of it being like kickball and you have to sometimes pick your friend too. I was like, yeah. There are some things here on my list. I was like, I have to. Like me and my wife.
It's a great analogy, huh?
It is so good. Man, like you sometimes you even know you don't want them to because you're ready to win, but you're like, I gotta do it. But listeners, if they know a good time, they're gonna really enjoy this. My wife and I love this movie. It's a ton of fun. We even held a party during Christmas to watch this one. It's called Feeders 2 Sleigh Bells. This is in the vein of the world of Gremlins and Critters, but if Gremlins and Critters were at the top, Feeders is 12,000 steps below on the bottom. This is from the Polonia brothers. They do an obscene degree or at the time when they were brothers, because I believe one of them passed away a couple years ago, but they did a lot of DIY filmmaking shot on video. Resident PA people, the best movies are shot in PA. And these little tiny aliens called feeders come to Earth to feed on man. Feeders 1 is fine. It has a lot of dead space, but the design of the feeders are so cute and they're very funny and they jump around like Muppets, and they're just tons of fun. And there's some awful dialogue about like 2 dudes picking up babes. Where are the girls? And then these feeders show up. And there's like one scene where they're running from the aliens and they get into a house and look up. And then the one character is like, says something like, everyone's going to be praying, God, what's happening? And then the other guy just says something like, God can't hear anybody tonight. It's like, it's really so dumb. But the first one has some good stuff, but mostly boring. Second one, way better, so much funnier. One of the puppets were destroyed in the first movie, so only one of the good puppets makes it into the second. That's okay. They've made new puppets, and you can
that's great.
practically see that they made them from stuff from Michael's. Yeah, Feeders 2. It's probably on Tubi. It'll be there forever. Check it out. Feeders 2.
Yeah, I
Sleigh
just
Bells.
looked at it. It is on Tubi, and I think it's on something else like Voodoo Free or something like that.
Yeah, I love it. We love.
You should
this movie.
mention it's Sleigh Bells, SLAY.
Yes, yeah, the murder kind. So, yeah, don't trust the cover. They don't look as cool as they do on the cover, but they do look better, and they squeak, and they're stupid. It's just awesome. It's such a good movie. So yeah, The Thing and Feeders 2 so far. That's what I got.
That's great. I love it. I'm kind of torn. I have a few movies I'm looking at, but I also want to like make sure I'm getting a good variety of movies. I'll go ahead and go with the number 2 option I have on my list, and I'm gonna go with. It's funny because I'm picking 2 directors that currently have like big movies out, and I'm gonna go with Alex Garland's Annihilation.
Oh yeah, that is an alien movie.
It is.
That's right.
Which I don't think that's a spoiler. You see like
opening scene of the movie.
Yeah, the opening scene, you see something landing from outer space.
Yeah.
So yeah, because when I was like making this list, I was like, is it going to be a spoiler to make Annihilation and Alien Invasion? But then I like watched the opening part of the movie, and I was like, oh, it's right at the beginning.
Yeah,
it's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
It's visually just like really similar to the Thing, not in the sense of like what it's like actually like doing visually, but just like in the sense of like really strange, disturbing imagery.
Yes.
Full of it. There's this bear sequence that's like super disturbing and weird, both like visually and audibly. It basically like there's this thing that lands from outer space. It creates this like, they call it the shimmer, and it's like this area that when you walk into it, biologically everything is doing weird stuff in there. It's the reason I like it is because it is a true sci-fi film in the sense that it raises a million questions but doesn't really answer any of them, which is like a perfect sci-fi movie for me. So Natalie Portman's great in it. Annihilation, it's just, you got to see it. The visuals alone are worth watching, and yeah, love Annihilation. So that's where I'm going next.
And secondly to that, I've read the book, and it's a good like companion piece in the sense that like, so the book is the original source material, and the book and the movie are very different. They still have this zone. They have Zone X, like that's still a thing. But like the lead characters kind of, actually the team in general is pretty different. But a lot of the same vibe is there. So Annihilation still works on its own as something influenced by the movie. Annihilation still works on its own as like a development. But if you're interested in a stupendously introspective, lonely book that has a lot to do with somebody who can't seem to figure out how to integrate with the world, and then is entering a zone that is perpetually integrating so well that it's actually dangerous, that it's a very good book. It's also super short. It's like really short. So
I might have to check that out.
Yeah. It makes for a good film.
The ending of Annihilation 2 is just like so incredibly odd, and like, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Hi. Quick reminder that you, yes, you, can be a huge help to the production of this show. If you visit establishingshotpod.com/donate, You'll find out how to join the Establishing Shot family through some giving tiers starting as low as $5 a month. You heard that right, only $5 a month. And not only will you be helping me keep the show going, but you'll also get some perks yourself, like early and ad-free episodes, bonus episodes, access to a Discord server where we can chat it up about the show and movies in general, and more. Might even let you choose a movie for me to review for the show. Check out that link in the show notes to learn more. Back to the show.
Okay, so number 3, where am I going?
You tell me. I don't know.
So I did The Thing, and then I did Feeders 2. So that was like, a great movie, and then like a personal fun movie. Let's try and see it. Do I have another great movie on here? Most of these are fun movies. I'll do kind of a mix. I'll do a movie that I thought was really good. That is also a movie I connected with. Last year, an invasion movie came out on Hulu called No One Will Save You. The premise. Did you ever end up seeing this one?
I did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this one, kind of sold the idea on. People were selling the idea on like, oh, there's no dialogue in this movie. There's no dialogue in this movie. It's an alien invasion movie because the main character might be deaf or mute. We don't know. It's just I can't quite remember if they set anything up. She just doesn't talk.
She doesn't. Yeah.
And then her house is invaded. Like she is just someone who seems to like do crafts and like maybe sells stuff. She's living on her own just fine, but then the house is invaded, and then she gets out of the house and tries to tell somebody, but there seems to be some sort of fear that she has about like going into the neighborhood. Even the mailman isn't like nice to her when he drops off the package, and I couldn't quite tell if that was a joke on mailmen, like because I know Amazon drivers are a mix of either overworked and we should feel bad for them, but also they just keep throwing my packages over the fence, so I don't know if I should like that or not. But please, it's a collector's item, don't do that. But there's a lot of in that limitation, in that idea, there's a lot of really creative ways in which the director then has to share stuff with you. And not all of it is perfect, but where it goes, in my opinion, is extremely rewarding, to the point that I went from the film being just enjoyable and kind of good and like having some neat things to being an absolute favorite of mine by the ending. And I was like, oh, well, this is going to be in the top 5 or top 10 of that year. And so, I really liked this movie. I think I remember thinking like it visually wasn't as appealing as I wished it was, since it's such a quieter movie. But then like I kept seeing like appreciation posts for the cinematography, and I'm like, what the heck? I was wrong. And so now I'm going to have to watch it again. But I definitely got to put this here. It is on Hulu. Yeah. So definitely.
It went straight to Hulu, which I think is unfortunate, because I didn't go for this movie. I kind of feel opposite. I feel like it was really like great in like the tension building, and like it was very intriguing with like what it was doing with her not talking and stuff. And like where you felt like it just like blossomed at the end, I felt like it kind of like went off a cliff, and it just didn't connect with me. And I almost wonder,
absurd.
Yeah, I almost wonder if it would have, if I would have seen it in theaters, but it just didn't go to theaters. It went straight to Hulu.
It which keeps happening with Hulu. Like, why wasn't Prey in theaters? That would have done gangbusters, I feel like, in theaters. Which is half of the reason why I think Alien Romulus is in theaters. Probably contract really pushed that there, and also current conditioning is saying that actually it's probably best to put your movies in theaters. Who could have guessed?
Yeah, who would have thought?
But No One Will Save You, having that atmosphere probably would have made being in theaters a lot more exciting, with the it's more than one alien. That's not really a spoiler for an invasion movie. So like when more of these things are happening, like the audio and the visuals of all that could have been cool. Also, sidebar, the dancing alien meme from a couple years ago basically happens in the movie, because the aliens communicate that way too. So that's fun. But that's what I got for number 3.
It's definitely where I say I didn't really go for it. It wasn't my favorite, but I also, there's people, including Melvin, that like really went for it, that I usually respect their opinion. So I'm like, maybe I'm just wrong about this one. So it's definitely and
I
it's
think
worth
it's
seeing.
personal.
It's worth seeing. Like it's doing a lot of interesting things, and and you can just open Hulu and watch it. So
It's short too, like 90 minutes. It's not that long.
yes, oh, I love a good 90-minute movie.
Me too.
Um,
I got stuff to do.
yes, and so on that note, let's diversify and go with an 80-minute movie and the 1956 Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I caught up with in preparation for this draft. I always use these drafts as like excuses to catch up
To
with
watch more.
movies that have been on my watch list. And so caught up with this about a week ago, and I was just like really blown away by how like intriguing and like captivating this movie is. Because it's a like on the like you hear the premise of the movie and you're like, oh, kind of corny, whatever. But if you just like jump into the movie, start watching it, it's like super captivating and very like intriguing. And but basically the premise is there's these people, there's this doctor, he's coming back from a trip to his small town, and he's encountering a person or two that is like, hey, my uncle is, I don't think he's really my uncle. He has all of his memories. He speaks the same way my uncle would speak. There's no like visible or audible or mental difference, but I can just tell he's not my uncle. And so he starts digging into this, and it's called Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They're not exactly like hiding what's going on in the movie with the
Yeah.
title. But just like the way it explores it is just like really good. Kevin McCarthy is the lead actor here, and he's just like really great in the movie. I feel like I would have given it 5 stars. If it drags a bit at the end, and I feel like if it would
80
have,
minutes and it
it's
drags. That
yeah.
is a problem.
And so I gave it 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10. But that was like my one critique is like, I felt like they could have like wrapped it up. I mean, I don't think they needed to cut like 20 minutes or anything, but a good like 5-8 minutes probably, and make the end a little bit tighter, and it would have just like been perfect. But yeah, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There's I haven't seen, there's like a 70 something remake of it that's apparently like really good too. That has like Leonard Nimoy and some other more like well-known actors. But yeah, I'm taking the original 56 version that I really enjoyed.
Okay. All right. So where am I gonna go next? I'd be remiss not to mention this one. This is a movie that when I started dating my wife, she showed me, and I had a lot of fun with. And it is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. This movie is definitely a cult classic, and I would say it's probably like if you had an iceberg challenge of cult classics, it's definitely at the top. A lot of people know Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's an easy name to remember. It's absurd and silly parts of the movie. It's cheese that's like it's like if you buy like cheddar cheese that's like fresh, that's sort of an oxymoron, but for most people that's like what they endure.
Yeah.
I like cult classics that are aged for a couple years. So I like the sharp cheddar. But Killer Clowns really is worthy of its known status. I just local theater nearby. I keep mentioning it. This is what I do. But like they did a sci-fi film fest where they just screened a ton of sci-fi films, and their double feature during one night was Mars Attacks, and then Killer Clowns. Obviously went to both. Mars Attacks was sold out, and I love that movie so much. It's so funny. And then Killer Clowns after that, and of course both theaters were packed.
That's great.
And yeah, premise is opens just like The Blob. People kissing at Makeout Reef, and then they see a star fall and they go check it out. and make out Reef. I guess that's actually SpongeBob. I don't remember what it's called in the Blob. But they go to check it out, and in its place is not a fallen star, but a circus tent. And then they go inside, and it's circus tent stuff. And they find cotton candy. And then they find things, and then a clown kills somebody. So like just right away, there are these really ugly Chiodo Brother design clowns, purposely ugly, because if you're a fan of the Chiodo Brothers, they do like their snarling, leathery, wrinkly creatures. And it's all a lot of fun. I think the movie has some downtime, but the joy of the film is its gags are continually creative, and continues to play on the fact that it's like circus stuff. There's people die through silhouettes, people die through popcorn, people die through cotton. They just there's a great gag with a pie where like they all grab these pies, and the one person on the entire universal plane who does not know what a pie is used for says, "Hey, what are you going to do with those pies?" and then proceeds to be hit with pies. So yeah, it's if you're watching this with friends and like maybe you're even a movie person and you're watching it with non-movie people, everyone in the room's still going to have a good time. Even that guy in the room who insists it's a bad movie, you'll look at him and he'll be smiling. So it's yeah, that's absolutely my number 4, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah. It's like it sounds like a classic version of like a good bad movie.
Yes.
Yeah, which you've got to love. Man, that's great. I've never seen Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but thanks to Melvin, I'm at least like considering checking it out. So it's
my weird selection of movies.
It's streaming on Prime, so there you go.
It's so fun,
man. Mars Attacks, man, great. I took that in a recent draft too. I took it. It hasn't aired yet, but we did a director's flops draft, and
that's definitely one.
Yeah, went with that one. Okay, I have some movies I like more than the ones I'm hoping to get. One of which I'm going to take right now. Definitely getting it. Diversifying my list a little more. Let's get some comedy in there. And I'm going to go with The World's End, Edgar Wright's movie starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, Martin Freeman. Have you ever seen The World's End?
It's the only one of those 3 I haven't seen.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's so great.
I hear it's really good.
Yeah. It's just like, it starts off like just as like a pub crawl comedy. And then like Edgar Wright's like, okay, now aliens. And it just gets like really weird and like progressively gets like weirder and weirder and like but stays like funny too. And you know, is obviously like his other movies, kind of like his other like British comedies, like also like digging into like the, you know, the pasts of the characters. Something he does really well, them like reckoning with their past. And like the whole reason they're doing the pub crawl is because they used to do it like in college or whatever, and they're older now and they're trying to relive their past. So it's like all that stuff is there, but
it's funny.
But it's just like a funny movie that's like bizarre and fun, and probably not like the sort of movie like Killer Clowns from Outer Space where it's like
no
a good bad movie. Like a lot of people do say this is a good movie, but but in the same vein of like you're watching it because it's bizarre and a fun time. And so yeah, World's End, really enjoyed it. And it gets me a comedy on my list, so I'm gonna go with that.
Hello again. Do you know how you can really support the show for free in just a few minutes or less? That's right. Just leave a rating and review on Spotify and Apple, or wherever you listen that might allow for ratings and reviews. These really help the visibility of the podcast. In fact, just hit that pause button right now and drop the review right now. And then you can get back to the show. I'd greatly appreciate it. Okay. I trust that you went and left that rating and review now. Back to the show.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time figuring out, because now I haven't had anything crossed out from what you've done. So now I just still have an open list of movies to look at.
Plenty of honorable mentions then.
Yes, I've actually been writing next to some like HM just so I can focus on them at other spots. Oh man. And then there's even some that you almost feel inclined to mention out of cred. Like, oh yeah, I know this and I've seen it.
Yeah.
Or I even own it on DVD, but then I've seen it and it wasn't even great. So like it's like I'm not gonna do that one. All right. I think I will finish out with, this was one of the first ones I thought of doing. I think I'm gonna commit to it. I have championed this middling movie. It's not even great. I just don't think it's as bad as everyone thinks it is. Go back and rewatch Alien versus Predator.
Okay.
That is my number 5. I think this movie is the quintessential, I'm doing laundry, what's on sci-fi? Oh, this is on? Okay, it's only 20 minutes in. All right, I didn't miss anything. I'm going to watch it now. It is the peak of that quality of movie. This movie is not rated R, which is one of the biggest criticisms that the film had when it came out. It is a PG-13 smashed together versus film that is not rated R from 2 franchises that are very rated R in terms of violence, and it's sometimes sexuality, at least with Predator, because Predator 2 just is such a wild movie. But it is, I think, still kind of fun. I think the movie, I think Paul W.S. Anderson is an odd director who at least has a lot of fun with filmmaking and doing fun things that I don't think everybody gets. And that's okay, because his movies still make a lot of money. And Alien versus Predator, I think it's good. So, but about the film, like, it turns out that in the Arctic, the Predators have a temple where they have kept a frozen alien queen to then do this tournament where they would birth aliens and fight them. And a couple humans have stumbled upon it. There are minor connections to the Alien franchise with Weyland Yutani. They don't make any sense, because how would he be alive then if he's supposed to be alive like thousands of years or 200 years later? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. And yeah, I think this movie's, I think it's got some cool action. Its practical effects are okay where they are, and I think they're pretty neat too. It has cool stuff in it, like the Predator still is cool, and there's still things that like feel like they don't feel right. I know some people debate about the setting because they feel like it just doesn't feel like where the Predator would fight, but I think a lot of this stuff is pretty cool. I think it's an accessible, comfy, easy watching movie. And so I think like that's where it fits in. I think a lot of my movies are a weird mix of like intent movies, but I think AVP Alien Predator is a good way to finalize that list.
Yeah, it's one that I'm not even sure if I've seen all of it, but I know I've seen some of it on TV at some point back in the day.
So I described it correctly.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I like 2004 is like prime, like watch it on cable when it comes on time. And so I definitely saw at least some of it on TV at some point. I know. But yeah, I'm not sure I've ever watched it all the way through. I really, enjoy the Alien, and like even like Alien 3, which is like definitely like not a very good film. I still like enjoyed watching. And so like I could see this being like a similar thing. Like, okay, is this a good film? Like, maybe not, but like, did I have fun watching it? Like, yeah, absolutely. That's how I've been telling people, like, just like go to theaters and watch Godzilla Kong, because
it's fun.
Because it's really fun. Like,
it's a wrestling movie. Like, that's what it is.
Like, is it like peak cinema? It's like, well, no, but like, you're gonna have fun. Like,
Yeah.
And Alien versus Predator, another two
Yeah.
iconic creatures fighting. So, yeah, I like the pick. It's fun.
Nice.
I have two movies. Well, I mean, I have a few that I like more, but I'm debating between two that I like technically less. They're low on my list, but I like to diversify. One, I'll just leave for honorable mention because this pick is gonna like win me the draft, I think. Um, uh,
Whoa.
and it's
Okay.
one that
What
I
is it?
really, really like. I'm trying to see. I'm trying to pull up something as I'm saying it. But this is going to win me the draft. Sorry, Melvin,
Okay.
but I'm picking Lilo and Stitch. Um,
That actually could win you the draft. People
because
love Lilo and Stitch.
because I I have memories of being let's see, what year is this? 2002. So I have memories of being early middle school and walking around with my friends doing Stitch imitations. Um, because it was fun and I liked making like weird imitations of things and still kind of do. But now I have an excuse because I have kids, so I can do it for them and it's not
Yeah.
too weird. But yeah, I have memories of loving this. Me and my wife actually did this thing. It took us like several years to finish, but we started with Snow White and watched chronologically through all the Disney animated classics.
That's cool.
And we actually just watched Wish like a week or two ago when it came to streaming. So we're
Mhm.
officially caught up with all 62 of them, and
That's
that we watched in
cool.
chronological order together. And we both made like rankings lists as we watched through it. And
Awesome.
Lilo and Stitch is like is number 8 on my list of the 62. So really love this movie. So I'm not just picking it because it's going to win me the draft. But that's a good side reason to pick it. But yeah, love Lilo and Stitch. It's probably all the ones I've picked. Well, I don't want to give anything away. I'm not going to say if there's another movie that's a benevolent alien thing going on. But yeah, if you know what I'm talking about from my list. I'll just say that. Another less than 90-minute movie, 85 minutes of just pure cuteness and fun and beautiful Hawaiian animation. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
a good one.
Lilo and Stitch to round out the draft. And now, before I read out the results, let's do some honorable mentions. Melvin, what you got?
Yeah, so I'll mention all the ones that I had at least written down. So like a couple other movies I had were like I wrote down Laser Blast. It's one of the classic cult classics of bad movies. It's very bad. Basically, an alien comes to Earth and like attacks people, but then you watch the movie and that barely happens. And basically, it's a movie of nothing happening. There's even like a scene where the protagonist, who is so limp in the whole film and so inactive, is like he is like sunbathing at like a pool, and you never see this woman's like chest, but she is topless and like accosts and like tries to get his attention, and he kind of
Yeah.
just looks up and then he just like falls back asleep. So you're just watching the movie like, what are you doing, dude? like don't you know what the movie logic is supposed to be next? Your eyeballs are supposed to pop out, your tongue is supposed to unroll like a scroll. And so it's just like, it's really dumb. And so like the whole movie's stupid. He at one point gets the laser gun and he drives past a sign that is advertising Star Wars, and he angrily shoots at it. So like, I don't know why the director had beef with Star Wars, but his movie
That's
sucks.
funny. It's the year
And so
after Star Wars,
it
78.
is, this movie is bad, but it's like it's a
Oh,
notorious
man.
classic of that kind of vein of like an alien invasion movie that just sucks. So I just figured I'd toss that one in. Mars Attacks was on my list too.
Yeah,
I
great.
did not like it that much the first time I watched it. I just didn't find it funny, and then I watched it a second time just literally to kill some time, and I couldn't stop laughing. And then when
Yeah,
I saw it in theaters,
Mars
it was
Attacks.
so funny.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but like I feel like if I would have been in a different mood, I would have like hated watching it. But I was just like, I jumped in and I was kind of like in a
So
silly
good.
mood
Yeah.
already, and like, man, I laughed. It's just like outrageous. Like
Yeah.
everything that happens is just completely like bonkers. But it's like
It's
totally aware of that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's I think Tim Burton is a noted cynical director.
yeah,
I think Tim Burton's problem is he's cynical and he often thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. I know that's a weird claim to make, but I
yeah.
think that that's what his films communicate to
Mars
me.
Attacks doesn't feel like that to me though.
Mars Attacks feels like a good version of that because it
Right.
has some cynicism. Like that's
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
thing, and it does have a smartness to it. But it's all like I'm on the same side. Like
Yeah.
I want to see Vegas crumble. I want to see
We're all
the
laughing
Senate be burned.
together.
Like it is, yeah. To me, like all of it works. Whereas like when it doesn't work, I think it rubs people the wrong way.
Sure. Yeah.
So that was on the list. They Live, of course, was on the list because I
Yeah. I haven't
Carpenter, but
seen
I
that.
didn't.
Yeah.
It's really good. I think it's very testosterone heavy.
Okay.
Which is typical of Carpenter. He's a very
Sure.
testosterone director. Vampires, the classic movie or the classic boys movie for boys. But that They Live was there. Critters. I already mentioned it in the E.T. episode because obviously with D. Bradley. But D. Bradley. Am I
D.
saying
Wallace.
that's D? That's the other. No, I just combined Dee Wallace, the mom of cinema, with Pinhead. Because I was trying to think of what's his name. Anyways, so Critters was on there because it's basically Gremlins knockoff. Although I think it
Right.
was being developed before Gremlins. I can't remember,
Yeah.
but it was
I've
during
heard
then.
something about that before. Yeah. Yeah.
But there's of course that connection. My true real honorable mentions though, because those were just what I didn't get into. Where The Vast of Night, 2019
Yes.
movie came
That was
out.
the other one I was debating there at the end. Just to like,
this one,
just to put it out there, because
it's like the spot that like so every year a new invasion movie comes out. Like there's a new alien invasion movie, like because we'll get them forever. And like this was the one in it went to streaming in 2020, or at the very least I think it went to wide release in 2020 because it really debuted in 2019. But Vast of Night I think is a great understated film.
Man,
it has so much to talk about like underheard people, because all the people that these two kids who have some of the best dialogue and banter in a film.
Yeah. It's very like noir, like 40s noir style dialogue.
Yes,
yeah.
These two people, they basically do communication work. The one works for like telephones when you had to like literally manually connect people's phones to each other, like through the database at a whatever it's called, I don't know. And then like the other person's like I think like a school journalist. The two of them hear about a potential alien invasion from a neighbor, and so then they go to communicate with a radio DJ, and then they go to interview someone else, and you're just hearing these stories from like I think it's very pointedly like a minority and like an old woman, so just people that are left over in a society telling these stories that are really extravagant but so real to them.
Yeah.
And then you're left in the audience thinking, is this a real alien invasion or not, and are these people telling the truth?
Yeah.
It's a challenging, thought-provoking movie that when it ends you'll think about it later, even if when you were watching it you thought it was just okay. And then the other
I want to
one
revisit that one. I was
it's great.
I have it rated like 3.5 stars or 7 out of 10, and I feel like, but it's lingered in my mind, and I feel like if I revisited it, it would definitely go up.
Skyrocket.
Yeah.
Skyrocket. Yeah.
And I think it's a Hulu movie too. I guess Hulu does some good, like straight to Hulu.
I think that one's Prime.
Is it Prime? Okay.
But the other one, well, actually, the other one isn't Hulu. That was going to be the other of the two was Significant Other. This one's on Paramount Plus. This one's like 72 minutes. That's
Okay.
excluding credits. Credits are a little longer. Another one of the classic Micah Monroe being stalked by somebody type movies. Micah Monroe and her boyfriend go off to go hiking. The boyfriend proposes and she denies him. But she says, not because I don't love you, but because I'm not the kind of girlfriend who wants to get married. And it's because of her past. And so then he's like, okay. And that's hard for him because he's the kind of boyfriend who wants to get married. And then the movie continues. And at some point, Micah Monroe inexplicably pushes him off of a cliff and he dies.
Oh.
But then he comes back. And the movie does a whole lot of like playing with pros and what do people know, and it is some of the most like thrilling, bizarre, mind-bending 72 minutes you'll ever watch. It occasionally has some comedy, so it has everything: drama, horror, and comedy. So check it out. Significant Other. This was a really big surprise for me. I knew I was going to like it because I liked all the actors and the people in it and the premise, but like when it ended I was like, wow, that was excellent. So check it out. This one's good.
That's cool. Yeah, definitely sounds intriguing. Yeah, I haven't really heard much about that. It looks like it's on Paramount Plus from what I'm seeing. Yeah. For my honorable mentions, one I did not consider because I also drafted it in the creature features draft. I realized when I was prepping for this, I was like, oh, I drafted two of my favorite like alien invasion movies in the creature feature draft. And that is Jordan Peele's Nope, which I love.
Great one.
Another one that is I love just because I love Wes Anderson. Asteroid City is kind of like a understated alien invasion movie. Love it. Pretty fresh. District 9 is one I want to revisit because I loved District 9, but it's been so long since I've seen it. Probably like over a decade since I've seen it. So I didn't draft it because I haven't seen it since then. So I just
2008, like that one's an old one now at this point.
So I didn't draft it just because like I don't even remember why I loved it so much. So but I wanted to mention it. Of course there's A Quiet Place. Oh yeah.
Did I don't think either of us even remembered to mention this, but The Day the Earth Stood Still, the original one.
Yes, I was actually about to mention that. I caught up with that one.
Thank goodness.
I caught up with that one just the other day. Yeah, it's really good. I didn't like. It's a 50s movie too, kind of like of huge influence on like sci-fi because it came out in 1951. Really innovative for its time. Really good special effects.
The initial invasion looks great. It sounds great. It's haunting. It's a good moment.
The design of the ship and like how it opens and stuff is like really cool and like pretty like seamlessly executed in the edit. And then like acting is good. Like I think you could argue it's a little bit overstated and like on the nose. But still like pretty effective. Like it's a good movie. And I mean it's Robert Wise, like he's got some pretty big hits on his belt, so he knows what he's doing. One that like I saw on some lists when I was like researching that I had completely forgot was an alien invasion movie is Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Like
that one's totally an alien.
Yeah, just totally like forgot that's another one I would like
They've changed the title like 3 times.
I know, it's so confusing.
So that's probably why.
War of the Worlds, of course.
They should have just kept it All You Need Is Kill, like the original manga. It's like the coolest name in the world.
It is. Oh man. Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow. I remember loving that one. You mentioned Prey. Great
Good one. And Predator,
Signs,
gosh, there's
and
that one.
Predator, of course. That's another one I haven't seen in forever. So, but Signs, of course, and War of the Worlds. Just kind of like spitballing a bunch of them here. And then to complete the John Carpenter trifecta of Starman, which we mentioned in the ET episode.
Yes.
A strange movie that I think I would like more if I revisited it. But yeah, great and really good performances by Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen in that one. But yeah, you know what I put on my list? You know what? I'm missing two that like I should have drafted one of these.
What are they?
Independence Day. People love Independence Day, and I like it too.
There's a connection with Independence Day to feeders.
Okay.
Independence Day, if you wanted to get it out at Blockbuster and it was out, you were then directed to get feeders, which is definitely a disappointment. But it's because of that decision, feeders was like the second highest rental at the same time as Independence Day.
That's great.
And that's kind of the reason the Polonia brothers could do what they did, is because they were able to do these like, oh, Blockbuster just needs stuff on their shelf. Yeah. And now they do it with Tubi. So like they just need selections on there. So
yeah, Independence Day, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I would probably enjoy it on rewatch. One that I should have taken, honestly, just because like pure nostalgia, just like part of my childhood, is Men in Black. Like complete
that was a good one.
Complete oversight. Like I should have taken that just like because it's such a big part of like my movie childhood.
It bleeds 90s. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Man, I'm regretting like my draft now.
You gotta take Lilo and Stitch out back. You gotta take them to the shed. Sorry, guys.
Technically, Transformers is an alien invasion movie.
Oh yeah, those are aliens. Yeah, they're just robotic aliens.
And then the one that I didn't get around to watching, there's two that I didn't get around to watching. That one is Contact.
I've seen that.
Robert Zemeckis. A lot of people really like that movie. And then the other one that I didn't end up catching up with because I knew I was going to pick probably Arrival if I could, was Denis Villeneuve's Enemy, is also apparently an alien invasion movie. So I don't know if that's a spoiler, but because I haven't seen it. But
it definitely seems to have something in it, but I could never understand from what I've read about it if it's a like personification of a feeling.
I don't know.
Or
I haven't seen it. It just showed up on a bunch of the lists that I was looking at. So yeah, those are I know we just like I rattled through a bunch of stuff, but they're all ones that I feel like people should watch. So there you go.
If you pick one of any of these, you'll probably have a really good time.
Yes.
If you're going into the mindset that some of these we recommend you have, because if you're like, wow, they recommended 10 out of 10 movies, I'm gonna watch Feeders too now. No. I'm gonna check out all of them. Don't do that.
Love it.
Hello there, listener. Don't you ever want more for your life? Don't you ever dream of surpassing the status of just podcast listener? Well, I've got good news. If you head on over to establishingshotpod.com and click the send a voicemail button on the right side of your screen, you can be featured on the podcast. I'd love to hear from you, whether it's a comment in response to an episode you liked, an opinion of mine you disagreed with, or just a question for me. And if you're too shy to have your voice featured, you can always email me at establishingshotpod@gmail.com. Don't settle for just being a podcast listener. Reach for the stars and get featured on The Establishing Shot. Back to the show.
Yeah, so that's our draft. Let me read out the final results before we go. Melvin ended up with The Thing, Feeders 2, Sleigh Bells, No One Will Save You, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And that's clowns with a K, by the way. And AVP, Alien versus Predator, is the official title. So that's Melvin's list. Honestly, like a really fun list from even though I haven't seen a couple of these, like really still sounds really fun. And then my list is Arrival, Annihilation, the 1956 Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The World's End, and wrapping it up is Lilo and Stitch. Those are our 2 lists. Be looking out for the poll that'll go up on all the social medias. And yeah, vote for who had the best one. Hopefully my cute little companion alien that loves Elvis will pull it through for me.
Vote for mine. Do mine instead.
Or who knows? Maybe the sleigh bells, the SLAY sleigh bells
Maybe
will
it puts
threaten
it in.
people to pick Melvin's Melvin's draft over mine. So
Christmas cheer. Christmas cheer is gonna win. Yeah, I forgot to mention it's during Christmas.
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot that.
The pun speaks for itself,
Yeah, I would hope so, but gosh. Oh man.
Oh man. But yeah, that's great. That's our draft. That's all we have for this week. Don't forget to go check out Cinematic Doctrine. Melvin is on Instagram and Threads, and there's even, you didn't mention this in the last episode, but you do have a Facebook group as well.
Yes, I personally don't use. I do have Facebook now. I haven't used it in so long. A lot of people chatting there and talking there.
A lot of the listeners are posting and talking in
which
there.
is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I stopped. I was off of social media for like 3 years. So that's probably why. But yes, there is also the group too.
Yeah. So that's out there. I'll make sure to link all of that in the episode description, so you can just go click it. I'll link Melvin's Letterboxd too, so you can follow his Letterboxd reviews. But yeah, that's all we have for this week. We are going to be jumping into Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom next week. Really looking forward to that. One of probably my least favorite as of now. Maybe I'll change on rewatch of the Indiana Jones movies. Who knows? But yeah, looking forward to that discussion. That's all we have for this week, though. Don't forget to go vote in the social media polls. Don't miss it. But until next time, I've been Eli Price from Melvin Benson. You've been listening to The Establishing Shot. We'll see you next time.
We were happy here. For a little while.
But look, I figure it this way. Better to be king for a night than schmuck for a lifetime.